I first got into drugs, I was about 14, nearly 15. I went quite quickly from cannabis to pills, and then from pills to speed and coke, and then to ketamine and MDMA, and then to acid, but I never did like shrooms or heroin. No.
The use of drugs by young people in this country has become a major cause for concern in recent years. This is especially true for the nation's schools, who are in the front line when it comes to coping with the effects of substance misuse by their pupils. Around 20% of adolescents say they have used drugs recently, mainly cannabis. Most young people who experiment with drugs recreationally tend to suffer no lasting effects, but there are those who find that their drug use causes long-term problems both for themselves and for others. So what drives teenagers to take drugs and to possibly put their health, their education and their futures at risk? And what can be done to help them? We drill on the experiences of some young people who have been at the sharp end of drug taking to find some answers. Hannah was 14 and a hard-working, high-achieving student when she started smoking cannabis with school friends. Her drug use soon escalated into a serious dependency.
Earlier in the year, after I just turned 14, I met this boy. He sort of gradually turned into my everything, which was kind of stupid. We had quite a bad breakup, and I'd made some friends of his friends. I was curious about drugs anyway, because at school it was like, drugs bad, don't do it, and gave us the names of the different drugs and what they did.
Right from a youngster, she's always been very willful, always determined to do what she wants to do. The more you say no to her, the more she will go the other way. So sometimes it's just best to say nothing.
I started off smoking spliffs with my friends, and then gradually it just sort of escalated to God knows what, to be honest, because you don't actually know what's in half the stuff these days.
Hannah's close friend Kenya, who has always resisted taking drugs of any kind, tried to remain a supportive influence during this difficult time.
We were slightly naive at the time of the effects of drugs and stuff, but we knew at the time something was wrong and she needed us. Hannah's personality is quite very dominated as it is, but she became a bit more meaner and a bit more feisty.
Most people were quite scared of me for how I looked, but also my attitude. One minute I could just be like the happiest thing in the world, and then the next I could be angry and screaming at someone from across the room because they'd done something to annoy me. I started parenting like almost instantly when I started year 10, and it went on for about 6 months and they just didn't notice. I think one of the reasons I didn't get caught is because I still did my work and got all my grades. Even if a student is probably the best student in the year, if they're taking drugs, then it is affecting their work. Eventually I got pulled into the welfare officer's office and they were like, right, you're signing this contract, and if you truant again, your mum's going to have to go to court and might have to pay a fine or go to jail. And I was like, well, fine, and just signed it. But I'm a teenager, I don't have that many great ideas, do I?
Well, occasionally, now and then. Yeah, I first became fully aware of the drugs when I received a phone call from the school. Up to that point, I had my suspicions, but actually had no proof. It was quite horrific to think, oh, my daughter, you know, into drugs. What's going on? Being ignorant about drugs myself, I felt like I was a little fish swimming in a big pond because I didn't know anything about them, you know. I'd heard names of drugs and things, but not actually what they did or how they affected people. You've got 2 exams, haven't you, coming up in January?
Mm-hmm. That's not going to be fun.
You've got to make sure you do some revision.
I was really quite angry and cranky whenever I was home or whenever I wasn't high. She'd go up and then you just pretty much crash down through the floor.
She'd be on a mega high 1 minute and really down in the dumps and quite depressed the next minute. There was no kind of balance at all. Later on along the line came self-harming, which was very difficult to kind of grasp as to why she would want to do something like that to herself. It was a very hands-off relationship. I mean, emotionally, there had been a lot going on within the family because of breakdown of my marriage, and Hannah wouldn't let anyone get close to her. It was very much, you know, you stay there and I'll stay here. I was the big bad wolf and the cause of all her problems, you know.
Everything just built up, and I was put into counselling to fix things, but I sort of didn't want to. I wanted to sort of just escape.
One occasion we had a big Barney one day. It just got to the stage where if she had disobeyed me and gone off out and done what she was going to do, i.e. see her friends who were doing drugs and all of that, I was just ready to have her put into care because emotionally I couldn't take any more.
I'd come home and she was screaming and shouting at me, and then I screamed something back and she just slaps me around the face, and I was like completely shocked. And my friend was at the front door dropping something down that she'd borrowed, and the look on her face was just like she'd never seen my mum so angry.
It's tough to say to your kids, no, I am not going to put up with this. I won't tolerate it any longer. You want to love them, but sometimes you almost have to make them hate you in their eyes when you practice that tough love.
We like the EMA and such.
Hannah finally realised that it was up to her to try and turn her life around.
After that, I did sort of slow things down a bit, and then it all picked up again a few months later. We spent $1,000 in a month on anything we could get our hands on. I was just like, right, yeah, my mum and everyone else is right. I'm going to die in like 6 months to a year if I'm not careful. So I just sort of, I just left that group of friends without even saying goodbye.
Hannah managed to pull back from the brink. With the support of her friends and family, she hasn't touched drugs for over a year.
It was an easy decision to make, but it was quite tricky to actually do because I was getting sort of withdrawal symptoms from the different things I took, because I took quite a lot of it, so my body just got used to it. It was quite horrible for a few months. Sort of my moods were a bit everywhere. But when I actually got through that time of trying to stay clean, like, it was so good. I went to college, and the first day someone said to me, oh, do you want to buy some pills? And I was like, no.
So what advice and support is out there for teachers wanting to help a pupil who may have developed a problem with drugs or alcohol? They might involve specialist agencies like Are You OK?, a substance misuse service for under 18s in Brighton and Hove. It's staffed by a team of health, youth and social care professionals. Anna Gianfrancesco is the service manager.
We do the work specifically around the substance misuse, but we ensure there's a package of care around the young person addressing all the other issues within their lives, because we recognise that actually substance misuse is only one component for most young people we see, and they'll be quite often be using substances or have developed problematic substance use because they're using that to help them cope with other things that are going on in their lives.
OK then. All right. Thanks.
Substance misuse is something that cuts across class, culture, any sort of background that you can think of, really.
How are you doing? You all right?
I suppose the one thing that they have in common is that they are seeking help. That's obviously why they've come to access the service. But they can have a real varied range of backgrounds. Those that are doing very well in school or college, and those that aren't attending school or college because of their substance misuse a lot of the time.
And like, push that button, innit? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Our team will support and work with young people through one-to-one casework, where they'll develop a care plan with the young person.
Here we've got a goal: reduce daily intake of cannabis. Yeah. One of the actions was change from skunk to solid.
The team will never lecture the young person or tell them what they should be doing. It's trying to get them to where they want to get to.
Because that was really solid. Cannabis is less
like
THC.
Obviously, the workers will always give guidance and support that's appropriate, and make sure that the young person can make informed decisions about what they will be doing with their lives.
Karen speaking.
A sizable proportion of Are You OK's referrals come from local secondary schools, highlighting the scale of the problem. It's crucial for the workers and teachers to forge links to help those pupils who may be at risk from substance misuse.
The referrals that we receive from schools can vary from young people being caught or suspected of being smoking cannabis, for example, outside of school, to perhaps young people who have confided in a teacher or a member of support staff at school that they have a serious problem with a substance like cocaine or alcohol as well.
Okay, so would it be helpful if we sent you some information, leaflets?
Our service is a specialist service, so we will only work with people who are showing signs of dependency or problems that have stemmed from their use. And a lot of the young people that teachers see haven't quite met our threshold, so we do give a lot of support to teachers over the phone or popping in on how to do the preventative work. So if, let's say, little Johnny has started smoking weed but he's not using regularly, then we can give advice on that.
There's all different things on there, all different activities you can use for a young person trying to get them to engage around looking at their substance use. It could be an ideal starting point for this young person.
We've got some wheels in there.
Yeah, we'll take them to the college along with one of the drugs boxes as well, so they can get an idea of what certain substances look like.
Okay.
New drugs are coming on the market at a bewildering rate, and teachers often don't have the necessary information to keep up to date. The outreach work that Are You OK do in schools and colleges plays a vital role in ensuring that everyone is kept aware of what's currently out there on the streets.
We've got some stuff on Meow.
Yeah, we have actually. Recently, we've had quite a few requests from schools around a drug called Meow locally, which is mephedrone, which is a new legal high that's come out. A lot of young people seem to be taking it under the misconception that because it's legal, it's a lot safer than perhaps illegal drugs, which unfortunately doesn't appear to be the case at the moment.
Highly addictive, mephedrone appears to have effects similar to ecstasy and cocaine. Nobody knows how dangerous it is or what the long-term physical or mental effects are. Most worryingly, it's been linked to a number of deaths of young people in England and Sweden.
So there's been a lot of requests from schools and colleges to go in and deliver some sessions around that particular substance. And we've been going in to deliver training to staff as well, to sort of clue them up and bring them up to speed with mephedrone and other legal highs, because this is an ever-changing sort of landscape really, and I'm sure there'll be something new that will come along shortly as well.
Substance misuse agencies recognise how difficult it is for teachers to broach the subjects of drug taking. Research suggests that schools who communicate and discuss the issue in an open way with their pupils have a greater chance of success when it comes to helping them resist the pressure to experiment with drugs. However, some schools still prefer to turn a blind eye.
I smoked a spliff in front of one of my teachers on one of the fields by our school and didn't even say anything, didn't even notice. And I used to roll my joints really, really fat, like filled with weed. And so you could clearly smell it, but he said nothing. He just stood there and spoke to me while I sat there and smoked it.
I think drugs being a slightly taboo subject in society, it makes it difficult to discuss within schools. I think there needs to be open, frank discussions around illegal drugs, alcohol and other substances to make sure that young people have all the correct information and can make informed decisions about using or choosing not to use those substances. And the more that teachers and other school staff can have those conversations, I think the more benefit it's going to be to everyone.
Adolescence is a time of curiosity and experimentation. For many young people, their first exposure to drug taking can start as a result of simply wanting to be part of a group. The mix of peer pressure and easy access to drugs can lead to vulnerable teenagers finding it difficult to resist. If the danger signs aren't spotted early on, things can rapidly spiral out of control.
Tried cannabis for the first time in 2005. Didn't like it at first, but then it was a way to keep the hassle out of my life.
I got into drugs when I was about 14 years old. Mostly started at school. with a lot of people around me smoking weed and stuff like that.
At that time, I was probably spending about £35 on just cannabis, nothing else. If my mum didn't have any money, it'd be through shoplifting and other ways.
Smoking weed was my starting drug, and I started to take other things like speed and ketamine and stuff like that, which are more serious. I remember it being one big adventure. Just wanted to kind of be the cool kid, if you know what I mean, and, you know, it wasn't the best idea ever.
I never turned up to school now. Never thought of going into school. Didn't think of school as a good place to be. I didn't enjoy sitting in classrooms. I liked being outside, doing stuff that I enjoyed. But I didn't have that choice in school. You have to sit in the classroom and you have to work.
The school didn't, they couldn't really do anything about it. They didn't know what they could do because I was way out of hand, way out of control. They were worried. I could see it in their face, they were worried, but there wasn't a lot they could say to me. I didn't care. I had very low self-esteem. I wasn't happy with the way I looked, the way I spoke, everything. I just hated myself that much. I just didn't want to be me anymore, and I didn't have to be me. I could be this other person. I was taking drugs every day. I wanted to forget what was going on at home and what I had to go home to. Which was like a war zone, really. It made my mental health a lot worse. It made my self-esteem a lot worse than what it was to even start with. I then became, no other way to describe it, a monster.
I was just not a very nice person to be around or to hang around with. I was a violent person, nasty, thief. I just wanted to see how far I could get until I got into serious trouble. And obviously I did.
I spent a lot of time out, living in doorways and stuff like that. I was more out than I was at home then because my mum was starting to get really angry with me.
Made the wrong choices, made wrong friends, didn't stay in school, got kicked out of 4 schools, and then just went all hectic from there, I suppose.
Living on the streets was scary. There was a lot of bad people out there that, wanted to take advantage of a 15-year-old girl. I sort of started to see things that I shouldn't have seen at the age that I saw them at, 15 years old. I was seeing people injecting heroin and crack and stuff like that.
Got quite bad, getting arrested quite a few times. I was taking cannabis resin. I did pills at the time as well, doing speed bombs at one point as well.
The rock bottom was when I was living in a doorway in the centre of Brighton, living out of one bag, and it was snowing. And there was just me, my friend, 2 cans of beer, and we were cold. We were cold and we were frightened. It wasn't fun anymore. And all I wanted to do was go home. But my mum, she was afraid of me. Let's put it bluntly, she was afraid of me by the end. I lost everything. I lost my house. I lost my mum. I lost my friends. Just everything you could possibly lose. I mean, you even lose your dignity because you just don't have any dignity left.
Some of my mates went to prison, and one of my mates died in a car accident, in a stolen car accident. That's when I really thought about changing.
Hi, Nikki.
Hiya, how are you?
I'm alright, thanks, how are you?
Nikki's battle with her addictions was hugely aided by the special rapport she developed with her worker Lucy.
Is it freezing today?
I met Nikki probably about 1.5 years ago, and at that time Nikki was using quite heavily, and she was a very different person to the one I know today.
And we clicked, we got on really well.
I can't put my finger on what it is that made us get on so well, but I mean, Nikki is a really vibrant young woman. She's really easy to talk to, she's really reflective, and she engages really well with worksheets and just exploring how she's feeling. And she's also very good at telling me when we're getting too close. So Nikki kind of told me what I needed to do, and that is the ideal situation, really, when she knows what she needs and I can come in and kind of shape it around those needs. You said that if you're mean when you're drinking, and you're going to drink on your 18th, so how are you going to make sure that you don't become mean then? What's the difference?
Well, then I was drinking excessively.
Okay.
To the point where, you know, walking down the road was a problem. She listened. I think she listened to, you know, it was a lot to do with me feeling really down because of the stuff that had happened, and, you know, not wanting to feel that way, not wanting to feel down because I didn't like it. You know, sort of talking out all of my problems before even beginning to think about, you know, staying off of drugs. It was sort of dealing with the underlying problems first that would then lead on to staying off of drugs and alcohol. Well, I was going to drink, you know, them stupid little teenagery Alco Pop things. I was going to drink those.
That's brilliant. For me, it's just really important to find out what the young person wants. And sometimes I can be sitting with feelings of, oh my God, what you're doing is so dangerous. I want you to stop. But if I express that, then they're not going to be interested anymore because that's not their goal. And they've probably experienced that from other adults who are having that anxious reaction. And it wasn't Alco Pops you were drinking before, was it?
No, 70cl bottle of vodka.
That'll do it, that'll do mean.
Yeah, that'll make me mean, but if I don't drink a lot, then that won't make me mean. She talks to you on a level. She doesn't talk to you like a child, but yet she doesn't talk to you like an adult, because I wasn't an adult, but yet I wasn't a child either.
How do you think you'll feel once you've stopped? Part of the route is trying to establish what it is that they don't like about their use, what it is that they do like, and see how we can change it so that they're getting what they like from it, from safer things or safer ways of using, and remove the things that they don't like about it.
It was this kind of support that helped Jack when he first came to Are You OK? With Maya, his worker, he mapped out a plan to help him overcome his substance misuse.
We did find some good ways of cutting down, like going to college and doing stuff I enjoyed, rather than not doing anything and being bored and smoking every day.
Finding an educational environment where he felt at home was crucial in turning Jack's life around. He discovered it at Plumpton College with the help of his tutor, Phil Hart.
Jack, do you want to come on in? There's it's a little bit more straw in here, needs shaking up with these calves, just to do that.
It was just a chance for fresh leaf, I suppose. Just make new friends, do what I want to do instead of do what I was pushed into doing. Freedom's everything, really. I hate being stuck in rooms, classrooms, whatever. I hate being stuck in my bedroom sometimes. I just love being out.
Lovely job.
It sounds a bit weird, but animals, even though they can't talk to you, I like talking to them. You can talk to animals and you can tell them how you feel. It sounds a bit weird, but you can.
Hello, my old friend. Right, Jack, in here, these are the dry cows. These are all expecting to calve.
Staff have been very helpful, especially my tutor. He's just outstanding, to be honest. One of the best people I've ever met.
OK, all right.
That's fine.
I guess the obvious success, the one that a lot of people want us to have, is abstinence, but that's not necessarily what the young people want. So success for me is when someone is either stopped or is using in the safest way possible.
I'd like to have a little look at the...
You know, a significant number of the young people that we see will have reduced or changed the way they're using their drugs to be using in a more safe way, or have stopped. I think it's very hard to take credit to say that the service has done that, because obviously the young person has done it, and it's the work that the young person does. And generally when a young person comes to the service, it's because they're making the choice to change. But I think what we do is support them in making that change and enable them to see that what their hope and dreams for the futures are, they can achieve.
We know when people don't need us anymore, because they tell us, you know, they say, I'm out of space now where I feel I can manage this on my own, and that is, you know, that's a great moment because they're independent, they're in control, and it means I've done my job well because they feel equipped with the the skills and the tools to manage any crises that may come up.
I hope I'm out of it. I hope I'm out of drugs. I hope I'm out of spending money on illegal substances. And that's one way I'll stop doing stupid things.
It feels amazing to be drug and alcohol free. Stupid things like watching the sun come up after not seeing it for, 18 months, 2 years, not seeing it, not knowing it, just things like that. Looking at myself in the mirror and going, actually, you look all right today, rather than wanting something else. It's all about being content with yourself, and if you can achieve that, I think you don't need anything else.
The future is bright. Really looking forward to the future. To owning thousands of acres of land and having loads of dairy cows. Having loads of money, what I don't have to spend on drugs. And being free, having freedom.
We know that if we say to a young person, you shouldn't take, don't do it, actually they're not going to listen. But if we can give young people safe messages, talk to them about keeping themselves safe, helping them think about planning their night out, helping them feel that they've got the confidence to say no to their friends and they don't have to say yes because of peer pressure. Those are our key things, really, and I think that's what we're saying to other professionals, is help young people think about how to keep them safe, give young people the skills and the power to not feel that they have to do what their friends are doing, or that they have other ways of coping when life's really, really bad. They don't have to turn to alcohol or drugs, and that they have other resources within them.